damn it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It is funny to save $40 getting a new soundboard, just using all of these QuickTime players. There's 300 of them that I'm looking at. It would make any person very nervous. So remember the one time, like any person who's dealt with any kind of music editing or any at all technology at all, it would make you very nervous. Steve Robinson was watching the show one time and sent me a picture of these wires, and it just said, zoomed up on these wires and said, "This all makes me very nervous." I hear Steve.
It's supposed to wonder. There's like weird buzzing sometimes.
Well,
and things sound weird and
somehow,
get strange feedback.
Over a week ago or something, somehow somebody from somewhere around this town emptied their recycle bin in this room now. This room is the trash compactor room in Star Wars now. I don't know how.
February break. The kids are all here, and we're working.
We had this room was clean. I think it started with the baby walked in the room and pulled down that table, and then
you think so?
And then it's just attracted other bits of paper and things from the rest of the house, and they convene now in this room. Which was
the
a great
printer's
place.
in here too now.
Which was a great place of solace.
And our kids love nothing more than printing things.
Alice, yes or no? Did the moon landing happen?
Yes.
How do you know that?
I think it would require too many people to cover it up.
No, I'll tell you how you know it. You remember what happened yesterday, Alice? Because of Doge, they pulled the plug on the JFK library.
Yeah, I heard that. It closed forever.
It closed, exactly.
Forever and ever. It's done.
Exactly, yep. So Jack Schlossberg, the least good-looking and least impressive of all candidates. It is too bad. It is an American tragedy.
He's the one
that
who
we
recently
petered out of all good-looking candidates, and we're like down to Jack Schlossberg, who somehow is JFK's grandson.
He recently was on Twitter calling Jackie O hot.
Was he?
Yeah, which people found very weird.
Okay. Okay, you know what that tells me, Alice? That tells me, I used to work with a bunch of men who loved Jackie O.
Mm-hmm.
Loved her. And I worked with them when she died in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
And they were all devastated. They would have also told you Jackie O was hot. They would have not taken the company of Jackie O romantically, nor any woman. But so I think that's all I need to know about Jack Schlossberg. Jackie O was hot. Okay, it's like Tim Wall saying Jackie O was hot. We get it, Tim. Don't stop trying. Okay, so this is why, Alice. You want to talk about the going to the space, the moon landing? Whoa. Jack Schlossberg had some very, very good insight on this panic post.
Doge and the White House shut down the JFK library. Hey, it's Jack. I'm okay. But our country is not. It's under attack from its own government. They are using propaganda to steal the past away from the American. In my opinion, has nothing to do with government efficiency. The workers who were fired today actually bring in revenue for the government. It's really about stealing the past and about generating propaganda so that people don't know what's really happening. Above me is a picture about generating propaganda so that people don't know what's really happening. Above me is a picture. It's given to me by an astronaut. It says, Jack, your family's legacy has enabled humans to take photos like these. That's true. JFK sent a man to the moon. But you'd never know it if the JFK library wasn't open and no one was allowed to talk about it. It's time to speak out and resist what's happening.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you wouldn't know it.
You wouldn't know it.
No, I had no idea until I went to the JFK library. I didn't even know the concept of space, to me, was not something I was familiar with. Yes, this is what this guy, who's 2 generations from JFK, who's a guy who, whatever you think of him as a president, could think, had a clue about things. Amazing.
About generating propaganda so that people don't know what's really happening. Above me is a picture. It's given to me by an astronaut. It says, Jack, your family's legacy has enabled humans to take photos like these. That's true. JFK sent a man to the moon. But you'd never know it if the JFK library wasn't open and no one was allowed to talk about it. It's time to speak.
So there you go. You'd never know.
Is that what Trump's going to do, by the way? Is prevent people from knowing about the moon landing?
Of course. That's the whole idea, is to erase history. They don't want you knowing about any of that stuff.
Okay.
And another thing that tells you this kid is a Kennedy is that he wrote down what the inscription said on the thing he got, the picture of the moon landing from the astronaut. But it's so very Kennedy to not bother knowing the name of the astronaut.
Oh, no, because it's JFK did it.
Well,
It was basically him.
No. It's just Kennedy. It's Kennedy because just some astronaut told. I'm a Kennedy. I don't have to know some astronaut's name. Believe me, there's a Kennedy thing where like you hear about these nightmare stories. But yeah, so we wouldn't have any knowledge of the space race whatsoever
If it weren't for the Kennedy Library.
Yeah, exactly. And why have it? Just take the standard stupid take.
Mark says, I thought Nixon was president when we landed on the moon. And Splash says, wasn't JFK dead 5 years before the moon landing?
He was.
Oh, okay.
He was. That's right. That's right. So I wonder if the Nixon Library has any moon landing stuff, or maybe not.
No, well, I assume Trump's going to take that down, too. He just doesn't want people knowing about the moon landing, I assume.
No, yeah, nothing. He doesn't want them knowing about anything. Trump doesn't hang around with a lot of people who are into space and rocketry. He would never. He's
No, definitely
repelled.
not. I enjoyed, by the way, in the Hannity interview, very much when they talked about the astronauts who were stuck in space, and Elon said that they've been stuck there for political reasons. These are the ones who are like stuck at the space station. And I enjoyed it because then on Twitter, this reporter guy who normally I kind of like and is pretty good, but this just made me laugh. He tweeted out, where is it? He tweeted out about the astronauts basically saying, while Musk claims they were left in space for political reasons, U.S. astronaut Butch Wilmore told CNN the other day, we don't feel abandoned. We don't feel stuck. We don't feel stranded. So it's all fine. They like it up there. They're fine there. They don't need to be brought back at all. That's
and it's
great.
because Trump's in the world, you instantly dismiss like what should be total basic logic. What do you mean? No. We always have somebody stranded for 2 years. A man and a woman who aren't married are stranded up there. It's totally normal.
They don't feel stranded. They're great.
That they can't come and see their loved ones. No matter.
They're just fine. Stop politicizing
totally
this. They're doing great.
Totally
They
normal.
love it.
Yeah.
They're having a great time up there. They don't even want to be rescued. They turn you away. If you fly up there with a rocket, they'll just say, go home.
Right. At the time of Trump, everything establishment, everything status quo is absolutely normal and, as a matter of fact, necessary. And why would you say it wasn't? Why would you say anything different? And it's amazing because when it comes to Trump, like I had for somebody today. No, actually, let me play the space cut, then I'll tell you what I'm thinking.
You're committed to getting to Mars. You're committed to rescue. You're going to help rescue next month 2 astronauts that I think were abandoned. They dispute that in an interview.
At the president's request or instruction, we are accelerating the return of the astronauts, which was postponed kind of to a ridiculous degree.
They got left in space.
They've been there. They were supposed to be there 8 days. They're there almost 300.
Biden.
They were yes, they were left up there for political reasons, which is not good.
Okay, it's not good.
Sounds feasible to me. Sounds feasible to me. Or they're probably more left up there because of total incompetence.
Yeah, because Biden didn't know how to bring them back
Right.
down.
We can't get you.
Sorry about that. Just like he didn't bring American hostages from places back or anything else.
Right.
He's not capable of doing anything. And that's why Trump gets into office and 5 seconds later, all these things are getting done.
So
All kinds of hostages, some of whom, by the way, don't deserve it. Like this most recent guy they brought back from Russia, who's a total like socialist, but whatever. I mean, like some of them don't even deserve it, but they're Americans, so we get them anyway. So that's what we do. But it is fascinating just like how much Trump can get done in a short period of time just by taking decisive action. And they all whine and complain, but it's like everybody is happy except like 30% of the population who are just mad for no reason.
So I want to get to a well of content that I've been getting from one of the Melrose pages, where there are people who all they spend their days doing is finding the new thing to panic about.
Well, that's because we're literally in the rise of Hitler right now.
So it's a screenshot of somebody who posted this post, and so it begins. And the person who uploaded the screenshot starts their comment with, so it begins. And so it begins. So the Kennedy Center has canceled a performance by the Gay Man's Chorus of Washington, D.C. during World Pride in May. I thought they had June, they have May too. World Pride in May. National Symphony Orchestra bass player Jeffrey Wisner writes, we were scheduled to perform for the first time with Gay Men's Chorus of Washington on May 21st as part of the World Pride in Washington, D.C. The concert was abruptly canceled without explanation and removed from the KC website. This is just the beginning, folks. And then in red writing under that, it says, first they came for ellipses. So the Trump Nazis...
Wait, didn't Trump put Rick Grenell in charge of this? Or is that the other one? The other Kennedy thing?
I don't know. But so anyway...
One of them, he replaced the person with a gay man.
Okay. So I think Trump is in charge of this. So... and so it begins. Like remember the Nazis? They were really famous for canceling.
Yeah, and there's a famous poem that everybody learns
choruses,
in school.
Gay choruses. Remember the Nazis? Like that's what the thing. The worst thing the Nazis did, in my opinion, was they went and canceled all the gay choruses.
Right.
They said no more. So then I was looking around and I thought, okay, what's the other part of the story? What could the other part of the story be? Could the Gay Man's Chorus have just pulled out of the event? No, they didn't. Just pull out of the event. What could have done that? Like the Nazis just hated the Jews and gays, etc. So they didn't need a reason. They were going after them, and we're told, of course, that's what this is too. NPR has a big post on this. As Trump takes over leadership at Kennedy Center. I'm sorry. This one is some protests through dance. Did you see this? The dance?
I saw the dance.
Okay.
Yes, I showed it even to our daughter, who said it was embarrassing.
So the Gay Men's Choruses of all around the world are tweeting at the Gay Men's Chorus, Washington, D.C., saying, we stand with you, we stand with you, we stand with you, we stand with you. Now, in my mind, it's going to be, it can't be that simply the Trump evil Nazi regime is cutting gay people out of performing at the Kennedy Center because they're going to be cutting 9/10 of the people who perform at the Kennedy Center. Right. And it can't be that you're getting rid of, that's not going to work, getting rid of gay people. I thought, could it just be that they're punitive? Like, just because, no, the gays can't sing here. And but that mean? So I went to the Gay Men's Chorus, Twitter, and they haven't tweeted for 2 years. Went to the Gay Men's Chorus, Instagram. They're big Instagram. And I found this post from February 6th, or as you would say, February 6th.
It's how the month is spelled.
This is the Gay Men's Chorus of Washington, D.C. post from February 6th. This is black background, stark white writing. With the enactment of a flurry of hateful policies, we at Gay Men's Chorus Washington would like to reaffirm our unwavering support for all targeted groups. We will continue to be a safe space and to raise our voices in song for people of color, immigrants, our trans and non-binary siblings, women, the disabled, and all marginalized and targeted people. Bold, hate will not triumph over love.
Okay, so they hate Trump.
Right. And you know what's funny? When you give the middle finger to the boss, sometimes it doesn't pay off. Sometimes you go away and you lose your little gig.
Don't worry, I'm sure lots of people will be lining up to pay for the Gay Men's Chorus.
And then they came for the petulant, bitchy Gay Men's Chorus who said, F you. It's like, isn't it interesting? Like, I think there were, I know that you're a Nick Fuentes guy, so maybe you don't believe this, but there were a lot of people killed by the Nazis, right?
Yeah, Splash in the chat says he took a tour of concentration camps last year, and it was as bad as it was to see gas chambers and images of torture. He couldn't help but think of the Gay Men's Choirs not being funded.
Right. Isn't it just so disgraceful that people use, the Gay Men's Chorus, by the way, and none of these people involved tweeted about the little Beavis children whose bodies were delivered. None of them.
Oh, no, because that would upset another part of their constituency.
Exactly. These people don't care about Jews. So they throw around everything's the Holocaust, everything's Nazis. First they came for the Gay Men's Chorus.
Everything's the Holocaust except mass killing of Jewish people. That's everything else is the Holocaust. Definitely not that. That's the only thing that doesn't remind them of the Holocaust. That's for sure. So that's crazy. I don't know. Oh, I was sad about that. I mean, I can't. In some ways, it's like positive, but I like cannot believe the stuff about that plane crash in Toronto. I just feel like the news has been full of like so much craziness. I've been a little like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was some kind of flight trainer or whatever. I don't know. I think I'm gonna stay away from it. I mean,
listen to the Megyn Kelly podcast about it because that's what you had on in the middle of the night last night, and I was eyes wide open at like 1:30 in the morning, unable to sleep for like 2 more hours because I was thinking about the plane like hurtling downwards at thousands of feet per second. Like, I mean, I can't. Unreal what happened with that plane. Those people are so lucky to be alive.
Totally.
It's unbelievable.
they're also lucky that
It's also making me, by the way, rethink never getting a seat for the baby under 2 on an airplane, which I never do because I'm cheap. But like one of the very seriously injured people on that flight was a baby who was being held in its parents' lap instead of like in its own seat in a car seat, which is like what they technically recommend, but the airlines don't make you pay for a seat for a baby under 2. So anyway, but like, I don't know, just so much like crazy news. I can't like, some days I need like a step back because the Bebas family stuff is so bad.
Yeah, that is so bad.
And
You concentrate on that. I've been going just scrolling past the videos of the whole thing. This is somebody who lives of TikTok. This TikToker who's telling people to assassinate the president.
For the person out there who's planning on doing it, the thing that we all wake up every day hoping we'll see in the news.
By the way, this is a girl probably early 20s, probably going for her master's degree. An attractive young white lady with little earbuds in. She's somebody's daughter who lives in a nice house. And she's a freaking Weather Underground assassin incel fan.
And we're like, man, no one's done it yet. Keep going. Your plan, it's going to work. If not, it'll inspire the next person. And we are all rooting for you. You have our support. You have our admiration. We might make a national holiday out of you. And I will definitely put money on your books. And if you're into this sort of thing, I'll write you some letters of the naughty sort, should you find yourself behind bars for it. But we're all rooting for you and hoping that you do it quickly and get away with it.
She's going to write him letters of the naughty sort, if that's what you're into. In other words, I'm going to essentially send you sex pics of me, or write erotica to you, have a written affair with you to thank you. Because I know, like, as a woman, that's a way that I could transact. I'm willing to be a prostitute for you if you take the shot.
Did you see the other chick I sent us, by the way? I just resent it. The blonde girl. I feel like you'd like her too.
I like her very much. I like the assassin lover too, by the way. This blonde girl.
She's not an assassin lover, but
this blonde girl.
She has opinions on.
Yes.
No, because I actually find it hysterical how a lot of Republicans and Trump supporters like to say that colleges and universities brainwash their students to be liberal, when it's like, have they ever just stopped to think that maybe, just maybe, that people that graduate college and are educated with a degree are more likely to lean liberal because they're smarter?
Ah.
No, never
just
thought
thought
of that.
I can't with y'all. I really can't.
Wow.
She's come up with something totally new.
Yes.
Which is, if you call the Trump supporters dumb, you'll raise a totally new point they will never have heard of before. It's never occurred to them that they might be dumb. Nobody's told them that.
No, y'all never thought about that. But she's a pretty little blonde co-ed who stumbled onto a thought in a take. Has it ever occurred to y'all that college people are educated? The problem is this, is that with college, you can see the finished product.
Right.
And these shitheads who are graduating...
we like work with them at our work where we all do the same job. So we know who's smarter.
Well, right. There's no doubt. No, they spent a lot of money on education. There's no doubt about that. But no, I do not think that this little blonde, who I like, obviously, this little blonde co-ed is any smarter than any chick cutting hair out there or working at a grocery store. I do not at all. I do not at all. First of all, you don't... College is not going to make you smarter. It certainly can fill you up with knowledge if you're going there to gain knowledge. But in this country, it's just a rite of passage. It's just somewhere to go to feel like you have a degree, to feel like you're part of something, to party, to get laid, to have no responsibilities whatsoever.
They're smarter.
Right.
But they've been told that they're there because they're very smart.
And the building's pretty.
So there you go.
Yes, absolutely. And their progressive professors will pat them on the head when they successfully, learn the Hamas national anthem. Where to next, Albie? Trump is...
By the way, the chat wondered if we were going to talk about Mark Hamill's pants falling down.
Yes,
it is like sort of a good metaphor for
I
where
have had that happen.
where celebrity supporters of these people are. I was wondering, has anybody like heard from Mark Cuban?
No, but he's going to be speaking at that meeting of all the cucks who are... Have you seen this? Like Kinzinger is going to be at it.
No.
It's like this meeting that they're having some kind
He's
of...
in the Resistance.
Oh,
He
yeah,
can't live it down that he did those pathetic interviews with Kamala where he was like, do you ever just geek out?
Oh. There's this meeting that they're having, and like every unsexy cuck kind of person is going to be there. Just like, who's your lady, the conservative who tells girls not to be slutty? Is that thing? Who's going after the girl in pink? Natalie Winters. Did you see this?
Pearly Things? I hate her.
Natalie Winters or Pearly?
Pearly Things.
So Natalie Winters has this picture. She's like a Newsmax girl, I think. Is that what she is?
Yeah,
or
she's some
Steve
kind of
Bannon
new...
Steve Bannon's war room or
Yeah,
something?
yeah, she's some kind of new conservative White House press corps person that's been
And
invited there. And she's an attractive young lady, and she
very curvaceous. She's totally girly girl.
wears
bright pink.
very feminine, sexy outfits.
Exactly. And, I don't know if she's all that, like, actually pretty, but she's very feminine. I appreciate it. But, people went, that girl went after her. And it's the same kind of thing where it's like just this. I forgot why I mentioned this. Why did I mention this?
Because Pearly Things went after her. And
I know. Well, anyway,
Pearl just doesn't like other women. That's her main problem.
Okay, so Trump is going after Zelensky. He hates him.
A dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. Got to move fast because that war is going in the wrong direction. In the meantime, we're successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia, something all admit that only Trump is going to be able to do in the Trump administration. We're going to be able to do it. I think Putin even admitted that. Biden never tried. Europe has failed to bring peace, and Zelensky probably wants to keep the gravy train going. I don't know what's the problem, but he hasn't been able. He's very upset that he wasn't invited. He could have come if he wanted to, but that he wasn't invited to Saudi Arabia. But he's been working for 3 years. There's never been even meetings or phone calls to stop this war. It's a horrible thing. I figure Russia's lost 900,000 soldiers. I think that Ukraine's lost probably 700,000. And it's a terrible thing. You'll see bodies and body parts all over the field, all over. We see them very accurately through satellites. I love Ukraine, but Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered, and millions of people have unnecessarily died. And you can't bring a war to an end if you don't talk to both sides. You got to talk. They haven't been talking for 3 years.
So Trump hates Zelensky, obviously. It's fair to say. And no doubt he feels slighted in some way or whatever it is. He is ticked off at Zelensky. Now, I think he also legitimately likes Putin. I think he just gets along with Putin. Something about Zelensky Trump doesn't like. And I get it. The moment I hear Zelensky talk with I feel like it's a Kazakhstani used car dealer who's like chain smoking talking to me. I'm like, his thing I don't love. I think the Ukrainians, they fought bravely, incredible what they did. But at this point right now, we're running and paying for every aspect of the country, the United States of America. And so Trump is a guy who feels like the world is ripping us off.
Well, yeah, and I think that part of what they're saying too is Ukraine needs to have elections. Like
a dictator without
elections.
elections.
It's true that the Ukrainian people want to do this war anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't know, but that's like what people say on the internet is that people are like draft dodging. They're sick of fighting. They're like, they've lost a lot of people too, right? And like, people want the war to end. So it's possible that Zelensky's not that popular there too.
He's not that popular. He's
But,
lost
like,
a whole bunch of popularity.
We held elections during World War II in this country, right?
Yeah, but the mainland wasn't invaded.
No, I know, but we held election. I mean, well, true, not the mainland, but like Pearl Harbor happened. Like we held elections during World War II.
We held elections, but there was, I mean, you've got all sorts of problems, and you're trying to do conscription in half the country in Ukraine. You've got, pockets of people who are friendly with the Russians. I think you're allowed to keep order when there's combat on the homeland.
I mean, maybe, but I also like, I don't know. The war has to end at some point. Like they can't just keep fighting. They're not going to like beat Russia in the sense of Russia like
that ship
being over. Like
Correct.
that. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to remove Putin from Russia or something. Like what's the final answer? And I think that one of the things we've learned in 20th century wars is that you like have to come to a peace deal that doesn't like punish people. You know?
Yes.
Like because that's and yeah, sometimes you have to make concessions that you don't want even as the quote unquote winner, right?
Yes. I also think that, and I don't even remember where you and I were. I think we were very pro at the beginning. I also think that it shows that when you hire a hack senator, blowhard hack senator to be the president of the United States, they never want to put skin in the game. So Biden gave them just enough to be on life support.
Mm-hmm.
Just enough to be on life support. He could have in the first 2 months. Remember, they weren't giving ATACMS, they weren't giving this. He could have in the first few months, if he wanted to, really have a shot at just repelling the Russians.
Mm-hmm.
He could have really armed them to the teeth.
But like, who doesn't think that if Trump had been president back in 2022 or whatever it was when this started, that like if Trump had been president, Putin wouldn't have invaded Ukraine?
No,
I don't think so.
It's an Obama and
because he knows they're weak. He knows they're weak. So now we are where we are, right? Like, yes, it would be better if Putin had never invaded.
It wasn't
but
just
like,
he knew they were weak because he had a feeling that Democrats are weak. They proved that they were weak immediately with coming into office. Obama proved it with Syria. Biden proved it with Afghanistan. That these people have no resolve.
Right.
And they were willing. I mean, the disgraceful exit of Afghanistan was horrific, disgusting. And for Biden to point back and say it was Trump's exit, okay. Trump's not sitting here.
Yeah, they could see there was no one running the ship over here.
Yes.
So they knew they could do what they wanted. Now Trump's here. He's going to make the Russians accept some kind of deal. Like, isn't the point to make him stop killing Ukrainians?
Well, yeah.
I mean, the point is that to some people, to other people, the point is that they want to keep killing Russians, which is hard to do if a peace deal is reached.
Right. I mean, I think you have to look and say how much more. First of all, I think our part of this thing is over at this point.
Well, right.
Our
And
part is over.
obviously, Europe's not going to do anything.
They say they are. Well, then go ahead.
They say they
Go
are.
ahead.
They're not going to, like, send people over there.
They say they are.
They say they are, but they're not going to.
I don't know. Keir Starmer might.
Yeah, right. Look at the weenies that we saw in that video about Germany friggin' arresting people over memes.
I know, but I think
You
that
think those people are going to go die for Ukrainian borders?
I think that those people feel that Putin is just as mean as those meme makers, and those people are considered. They hate them, so they are motivated to do something.
Yeah, but Putin shoots back.
That's true, but maybe they consider.
You don't see them going in guns blazing against anybody who's actually like armed back at them.
Right.
They don't do that to the people who like run people over.
I want to read something here. This is supposedly some big Democrat posted this. This is supposedly from a Ukrainian soldier. It shows him out in the field with sunglasses. It looks more like an American Special Forces guy. Who knows? But this is supposedly this. And Jonah Goldberg quote tweeted it with a comment, and I just want to run this by you. First, here's the Ukrainian soldiers thing. Dmytro Tishetsky. America, I have a question for you. You chose Donald Trump as your president, and today your president picked up the phone and called the world's #1 terrorist. Not to demand justice, not to hold him accountable, but to talk, to negotiate, to treat him like a legitimate leader. So tell me, how do you feel about that? Would you have accepted a president who called bin Laden after 9/11? Would you have justified sitting down with ISIS? Because that's exactly what just happened. I've buried brothers because of Putin. I've seen civilians executed, children crushed under rubble, entire families wiped off the earth. And yet Trump, your leader, just gave that monster a seat at the table. For 3 years, Ukraine has been fighting for survival, standing on the front line of freedom. The American people have stood with us, and I'll always be grateful for that. But now, your president stands with our enemy. So I'll ask again, America, how do you feel about that? To which Jonah Goldberg commented, speaking for myself, my answer to this man's question is simple. I find all of this sickening and shameful. What are your thoughts on what Dmitry Tishetsky typed?
Well, my thought is we didn't need to negotiate with bin Laden because he wasn't actively bombing our country and killing our troops for 3 years in our homeland, in our country, while we were being financially supported by the rest of the world.
Right.
Right? Like, that's the difference. That's the difference, is we sent our troops after bin Laden and killed him, and, like, we've given Ukraine a lot of stuff so that they can hang on here, but, like,
Yeah.
we are going to negotiate with Putin because we can't keep feeding you guys into the meat grinder forever. This is getting ridiculous.
Yes, exactly right. And Dimitro, we're not a vassal state. We're not a vassal state of you.
Right.
You're a vassal state of us. And just because you're at war with Putin doesn't mean we're at war with Putin. Maybe we've been too generous to you. We're not at war with the Russians. The United States is not at war with the Russians. However much you think that we are not. So we will speak to Putin all we want to.
Well, and by the way,
he's a world leader, by the way, and you should want us to speak to him, because if we don't speak to him, he's never leaving your country.
Well, right. And if we are at war with Putin, which is like what these people profess, sort of, is that like Putin's our enemy and like we're at war with him, then aren't we feeding a bunch of Ukrainians into this meat grinder just in a proxy war for our own interests? And shouldn't they be upset about that then?
Really, yes.
Like, then that's even weirder, right?
Yes.
But like, either that or we're a sort of interested party in this whole thing where we're spending a lot of money to fund this war, and you guys are spending a lot of money and a lot of life to fund this war, and you know the Russians are like, we need to stop it. We need to stop the war at some point. Like, we can't just go on with this forever. And yeah, we are the most powerful country in the world. So when we get sick of funding the war, like, maybe we shouldn't have funded it to start with. How about that? If you guys don't like how we handle stuff, but like, the United States and our money is the reason why there's a negotiation to be had and not just a slightly bigger Russia.
Of course.
Like, that's, you know, we've forced there to be a negotiation whereby there's still Ukraine. Because, like I said, to me, and I know the commentary guys are, like, upset by all this stuff, too. I've heard you play some of those things also.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's, like, I can't believe they leave him out and all this stuff. And, like, yeah, but at the same time, like, I meant it when I said I feel like it's like a teenager who's like, oh, yeah, Mom. And I'm like, well, I'm freaking driving you to school. Like, stop. You know, like, we're funding all of this.
Yes.
So you can show up and be a part of the solution or not.
Well, yeah.
But like, we've helped you a lot here.
Yes, we've helped a lot.
And we'd like Ukrainians to stop dying now. Thank you.
Well, right. And also, we're not, and you hear Starmer say he expects Americans to be a peacekeeping force. Like, we're not going over there. Leave us alone. Although I think Rubio might have suggested that we would be part of peacekeeping. No, we've done our part. We kept you alive for 3 years. It's okay. Go make some new friends. Okay. Then well, in
all this time, because Biden is who Biden is, has Europe like stepped up and amped up their own defenses in all this time?
No.
Or did they wait for Trump to be reelected to run around like chickens with their heads cut off and be like, oh, now we need to increase our defense spending. Oh, my goodness. What? We can't depend on American money anymore. Like, why do we have to keep this whole freaking continent afloat? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And they hate us. They cry when the vice president of the United States says they should have free speech. Like, really, you guys? Like, why do we have to financially support all of you? It's like the worst relative that, like, you keep giving money to over and over and always needs a loan and always needs something. And, like, then is like whiny to you about your life and how you do things.
Oh, totally.
Like,
Also,
stop. Europe is the lamest. They're so annoying.
You built your mighty global European Union 20 years ago, right? So you're a new superpower, right? So just do your thing. Show us the might of the European Union, other than letting yourselves be flooded with third world maniacs. And there's another thing, like we were saying before, why is Tom Shattuck paying for people to not get AIDS in Mozambique? Just leave me alone. Somebody, does anybody else have agency over anything?
What do you think about the argument? What do you think about the argument? Because I've seen this raised, like, well, we all answered the call when the U.S. wanted to invade Iraq. Like England and all these people did.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they didn't have to, and some people didn't. And remember, we had a problem with the French over that.
The French fries, the freedom fries.
Yeah, we gave a big Colin Powell gave a big PowerPoint there, and that was part of a global war on terror. And I don't even know how much money they spent there. I don't know if it's more than we've spent in Ukraine already. But yeah, they were all in, and we appreciate it. But that said,
that was 20 plus years ago.
It was 20 plus years ago, but they spent like a decade there. But it works plenty of ways, too. We were helping the French Foreign Legion in Vietnam before they boogied out, and then it was just us, handling France's problem over there. There have been all sorts of incursions. Yeah, we did stuff. It works 1,000 different ways.
Well, right. If we're going to play with Europe the game of, like, who did more for whom militarily, like, then we're... Yeah, but I don't know. It is interesting that they like pulled that card.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I mean, maybe there's a point there. There's a point. They helped in Iraq. Well, thank you. But here's another point too. Assisting the United States as we pour a huge armada and a huge columns of tanks invade Iraq with this size that has probably never been matched historically, as we built our air bases and huge bases, etc., and used an overwhelming force. I think you'd say, okay, the United States is angry at Saddam Hussein. They're throwing everything at him. They've shock and awed him now for 6 months, destroying every freaking city block in Baghdad, etc. I think it's probably a little bit of the pressure's off when you've got the angry Americans, in the shadow of 9/11, leading the charge in Iraq. I think you feel pretty safe. That said, the British did a great job in Iraq and Basra and all the other places. But yeah, it doesn't mean that we do this like the Ukraine. Each place has their own unique history, and probably. What we shouldn't have done is stick it to allies like we did 25 years ago when we convinced the Ukrainians to get rid of their nukes. And we said, we'll have your back if the Russians come, but not in writing. Okay. Should we do the chat and chat or what?
Yeah, let's head to the chat. How is it a long week when we're only 2 days into it?
Oh, this is Wednesday, right?
Feels like a long week. But Monday didn't count. Monday was a day off.
Well, not for me, man.
Hey, the other day,
yes,
you guys were talking about some Sue O'Connell audio or something.
Yes.
Can you reference that? I wanted to hear what kind of crazy stuff she was saying.
Yeah, that was from Facebook. That was which one was it? There was two that we played recently. One was her.
We didn't play it on the show. I don't think though is what he means. I mentioned it to you in passing, but
no. Well, we played. I think I played it to us in the kitchen.
Yeah.
It was Facebook. It was Sue O'Connell talking about the JFK Library.
Educating us about it.
Such names. That's right. Let me see if I can find it. Actually,
Yeah, that was great because she is such a midwit. She's like the absolute definition of a midwit.
Yes. Okay. Video immigration. Hold on, let me find her latest post. She posts a lot on social media.
Yeah.
Come on, Sue. Where
For
is
the
it?
official record, when you say the mainstream media is lying to you, you're saying that I am lying to you, and all of my hardworking colleagues are lying to you. We are trying to tell you the truth. It's exhausting.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's a lot
sorry.
of lectures like that. Let me see if I can find it. Videos. All right, Sue. Come on. This is okay. Fuss about the Kennedy Center. Here we
The
go.
John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, or the Kennedy Center, as most people know it, is one of the most interesting and right now controversial spaces in the American arts. Look, it's not just another performance space. It's actually a living...
Stop using space, okay? Oh, God.
Federal monument to President John F. Kennedy, and it's our national home for...
The problem is that she's reading this but pretending not to, but she's got her own version of a teleprompter. It's a living federal monument to John F. Kennedy. So just speak to the camera, okay? Just do something off the cuff.
Performing arts. They have free performances for everyone almost every single day of the year. They teach arts to millions of kids. Millions of people come and experience world-class entertainment. And the Kennedy Center has always been where politics and art meet. They've had diplomatic events. They hold the Kennedy Center Honors every year, where they have recognized legends like Queen Latifah, Charlton.
Wow, Queen Latifah. I know for a fact there's no way that she found Queen Latifah near the bottom of the list and brought her right up to the top. This makes you stupider. This thing, this is a screed without a purpose.
Did she know any of this?
No.
Until Trump stopped the Kennedy Center and she Googled all of this to put it into an informational video for us. Like, she definitely knew all this stuff before.
Yeah.
She's every dumb, liberal, suburban woman just finding out about everything now and posting, oh my God, did you know, on social media.
You probably didn't know. And then she gets to some say. This is where she doesn't take a stand, but sets up this fake straw man to take a stand.
She has to be serious.
Heston, you too. Billy Crystal.
You don't have to say, Sue. You're looking at the list. Just go through the list.
Renee Fleming, Dionne Warwick.
Alice, who's Renee Fleming?
I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Barry Gibb. So you might be wondering, what's so controversial about that?
Some say.
Well, the Kennedy Center is technically part of the government. 16% of its funding comes from Congress, its operating expenses, and traditionally the First Lady is the honorary chair. But this year, people are wondering who is going to be in charge, because President Donald Trump has fired the chair and says he wants to be in charge. Some think Donald Trump wants to reshape what art means in the United States. But some also point to 2017 when President Trump was president for his first term, and some of the honorees at their annual event said they would not attend if Donald Trump was there. So he didn't go. And some are wondering if this might be a version of Donald Trump producing some sort of theatrical revenge play. So we'll see how it turns out. If you have questions or comments, put them down.
There's no question that you can answer. So we can all also Wikipedia it. There's no. Some are wondering. Some in her. This is called what's the fuss? What's all the fuss about the Kennedy Center?
In a weird sort of way, I feel bad for her in this because it just feels like, like my boomer aunt making a video about it.
Yes.
Like, she's so unknowledgeable and so unauthoritative on all of this. Like, it's almost like uncomfortably bad.
Yes, it is uncomfortably bad. And the idea that, like, some are saying, so if some are saying you can't cite anything and there's only speculation, then there's no fuss about the Kennedy Center.
Right.
In fact, it is only
Mark
you and your
says
friends.
she knows you probably didn't know because 5 minutes ago she didn't
That's exactly
know.
right. And now, since the Gay Man's Chorus got canceled, now there's fuss about the Kennedy Center. You better believe this. This is Sue O'Connell on Kendrick Lamar.
There are a lot of political meanings in Kendrick's Super Bowl show that I noticed. So I'm going to urge you to go.
Already, we start off lying. A lot of political meetings that I noticed.
You mean you noticed that they made the shape of the American flag and he said 40 acres and a mule? Like,
first of all, she didn't notice any of this stuff. She looked it up and was told, you might have thought an article somewhere said, you might have thought Kendrick Lamar absolutely sucked, but maybe you missed it.
Go back and watch his performance while thinking about American history and politics. Consider actor Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam. Who or what does this version of Uncle Sam remind you of? And has Samuel L. Jackson ever played a role like this before? Or...
Wait, do we have the answers to that? Why am I asking myself questions?
These are the discussion questions. You need to start to fill these out before you can even come to the conversation.
You can't just think the guy's not talented and the whole show sucked. You can't.
You obviously didn't think enough about the kinds of roles Samuel L. Jackson has had.
Yes, you have 18 questions, not multiple choice, that you need to answer. And these are essay questions.
This is mandatory. Before you weigh in.
Some have suggested how black artists get policed in mainstream spaces. And then you can consider the stage.
What is that? How are black artists getting policed in what?
I think very famously, the music industry has not allowed a lot of black artists.
Oh, that
in
is
their mainstream spaces.
A good point. I don't.
Yeah, the music industry definitely has been very low on black people. I think for a very long time. There's not a lot of black people who've been mainstream in American music.
When I think of the moonwalk and quick moves with hats, I think Corey Feldman, because he mainstream.
He made that up, I assume.
Yeah, he did it.
If you think of the mass incarceration of black Americans, what does the movement on the dancers on the stage represent to you?
That they suck, that most of them are gay males, that it was uninspired, that it was a bad performance. So mass incarceration? You
obviously didn't spend enough time thinking about.
You have to use have a sophisticated cipher in order to watch the. They should have handed these out. Like at the Super Bowl, sometimes they hand out like little wands and torches and neon things, or even glasses so you can see stuff in 3D and this and that. I guess we should have all been sent something.
Or there should have been stuff on the screen, like how for the football game they show you like where the line is for the next down and all the different pieces so you can tell like what's happening. Sometimes they'll have a little graphic where somebody's in a circle and it moves along. They should have had some like arrows pointing like, see, this is the mass incarceration part of the dance moves.
And then consider the color scheme of red, white, and blue. Does it cause you to consider
there was red, white, and blue?
Yeah, you didn't.
Did they form the shape of they didn't form the shape of a flag, I don't think.
They wouldn't have done.
Patriotic or who the American flag belongs to. And when that flag split in half, what do you think Kendrick Lamar was saying? Consider the American work.
So when can we have the answers? Is there an answer sheet
just
for
make
this?
Good music.
Is it on page 346 that all the answers? To who the American flag was for that's D. That was for just white Americans. It's too bad there wasn't a musician. Musician speaking words who could just tell us all this stuff. Too bad they had to use all this subliminal messaging.
Force too, from the 1600s through the 1800s. Who built America? And what did it mean when those dancers...
1600s to the 1800s, who built America? White Europeans?
Mostly, yeah.
Is that what Kendrick Lamar was telling us? Oh, it was an homage to white Europeans.
Bent over while we heard 40 acres and a mule, which is one of the many broken promises at the end of slavery. Now, you may say, I don't want politics at my Super Sunday halftime show. And I would ask, then why do we sing the national anthem?
The national anthem's not the halftime show.
So. It's also a symbol of national unity because we're all playing a football game together as America. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Like, I mean, it's explicitly
and
not
political. And I love this, too, you may say...
You guys made the national anthem political, and then they're like, see, you brought politics into this. Like, no, we were just singing the national anthem like we've always done apolitically.
And it used to be the requirement for the halftime show is to not suck, is to entertain. But no, once again, she and her other, she goes and pretends that the Martin Luther King statue in Boston is great, too. Mm-hmm. Wow, it's so interesting, hidden meaning.
You haven't thought about really... Did she have to do this after Prince's halftime show?
Nobody had to do it.
Why do we have a military flyover? Why do we have the presentation of arms? because it's America.
But no. The military flyover is billed as the military flyover. The presentation of arms is billed as a presentation of arms. The national anthem is billed as the national anthem. The halftime show is billed as a halftime show, not a subliminal, nuanced coding ritual for us. That's apparently a test that counts for your final grade.
America, and we love to have our sports and our history and our art. And what Kendrick Lamar did was just deliver a very patriotic, historical, and entertaining Super Bowl show.
So that's not true. Obviously, it sucked. The whole thing.
Splash says, "My God, they're so backdoor racist."
Oh, totally.
It's so condescending.
Totally. Oh, yes.
You may have thought that this show sucked, but it's actually deeply meaningful. You've probably never heard the phrase 40 acres and a mule.
We don't grade the black performers on the scale. We're not doing that.
Not for like how good the show is. Not for things like that.
There must have been something else great happening that I missed. I'm a white woman of means, and I've done a lot of evil. I've got a lot of people shot. And also, here's the thing, is that why would anybody around Sue, she can put any content she wants out, but maybe you don't have her putting out content where she's distributing knowledge to people.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't, because there are other people like Victor David Hansen who does that. There are other people who do it really well.
Right.
Maybe educating you, you may think, you may not have known, you probably didn't notice. Maybe you can't have somebody who's a drain on the national discussion or discourse.
Mm-hmm. But that's like liberals. This is all they know how to do because they listen to like NPR and all. If her delivery is so like NPR, you may not have known. But actually, in fact, there's a whole like tone to it that they all copy. So let's talk about the halftime show. And then like your net sound and whatever. But they all mimic that NPR delivery because they don't know what else to do. They don't. And she's, like a TV person. She's used to reading a teleprompter or whatever they read. So she's not like, she doesn't know how to speak off the cuff about things.
No, but the fantasy that she's demanding that we enter into is that people are asking her for advice as if she's some oracle.
A lot of people have been asking me about their student loans and what happens to them if the Department of Education actually does shut down. So I'm going to break it down for you real quick. First things first, your existing student loan isn't just going to disappear, but things could get a little messy. Let's talk about what could actually happen. Number one, programs in danger. Those federal aid programs that you know and love, work study, subsidized loans, some grants, they could go poof. Number two.
Let's break it down.
I do a show where I have to be a quick study about a lot of issues, including stuff that I don't like talking about, like freaking energy rates that Al Shattuck would love to talk about.
Well, do you go, you probably didn't know.
Yeah, you probably didn't. But I don't come to it as lecturing either. It's funny. Like, I have a lot of people asking me if you, like I've had people asking me how to get in touch with Doge for 3 weeks. And for 3 weeks, I have been telling them, I don't know. Because I didn't know. And I couldn't find it in 10 seconds.
You may be wondering how to get in touch with Doge.
People ask me all the time. It's funny how few people come to me for knowledge. It's like people who ask, like nobody asks.
I think they have Twitter accounts you can reply to, by the way.
Yeah, I think so. All right, you ready? I think that was just a response to a 16-second Dr. Cheswick.
Actually, several of the last couple days' chat chats have been very heavy, and we should probably say this on Twitter too. I've been very heavy on content, like past the start of the chat chat. I think either yesterday's or the day before chat chat was also like we did a lot of show after the chat chat started too. So
that's good.
People who skip the chat chat, you're missing out on other.
Yeah, because we have had complaints where the chat chat is a time where you kind of mail it in.
So some people do quit at the start of the chat chat, but sometimes you miss additional show when you do that.
I'm going to go say once again, for brevity, Dr. Cheswick's message was 16 seconds. and evoked
A whole
11 minutes
conversation.
of force feeding you
Sue O'Connor.
Yes.
So if you or your family are trying hard to make ends meet and still can't do it each month, then one of the steps that you take is to look at your bank account and figure out why. And you might notice that you eat out too much, you go out for coffee too much, you have subscriptions that
It's funny, he said that as I'm swigging a spiked seltzer. And Alice, I've checked, we're not doing too much coffee, and
We are doing too much coffee, but that's another story. But we don't go out for it.
That's right.
We just consume
austerity measures.
We consume 2 to 3
Correct.
multi-pound bags of coffee per week.
Correct. Which is a lot cheaper than cocaine.
True.
you didn't know that you had, that you can go ahead and cancel, or you call companies and try to lower the bill if you can, especially the cable company, for example. And there isn't anybody that is questioning you for doing it. They're not going to be critical of you. They're going to actually probably applaud you and do the same thing themselves if you told them.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it that Elon, President Trump, and everybody in Doge continue to be criticized from the far left for doing something on a governmental basis, which should have happened 100 years ago? It absolutely makes no sense.
Yes.
Everybody tries to save money. Everybody tries to cut corners. Everybody tries to eliminate costs. And yet, here's Doge getting criticized? I mean, what is going on here? That just makes no sense.
Yeah, they're doing like a sob story a minute on the news about, some lady who has to tell her 5-year-old that Donald Trump fired her and has put their whole family at risk. Like, they don't do these human interest stories for every layoff in America.
Well, right. And to have these bureaucracies like retch violently tells you how novel a thing this is for them. You're checking on my productivity?
Well, right. If you're such a great employee that we're lucky to have, then you can go get a job anywhere, right?
Well, yeah, you will
Somebody
shine.
was like, I'm an amazing executive assistant. I'm like, everybody hires executive assistants. So if you're an amazing executive assistant, then you're going to do awesome out there. Like, go forth.
Yes.
So I heard about the JFK library folks.
Yep.
And how, I think their executive director makes $300 plus a year.
Yes, she does.
Can you imagine that? That's almost as bad as the people who are in charge of the quote-unquote Rose Kennedy Greenway. And that's solely funded by tax money as well. Like, that was not supposed to be this never-ending job, but some of those folks get paid large, too. It's ridiculous.
I'm not sure I knew that.
I think the game is starting.
We used to have those guys on. Rachel Floor runs the JFK Library for $350,000 a year.
Is that the one? I thought he put Grinnell in somewhere. He replaced somebody with
Well,
Grinnell.
this is where the JFK Library.
No, I know. It was one of the Kennedy things.
Well, maybe it's the other one. The JFK, whatever, theater, whatever that is.
To dissipate, Tom, sorry about you and your leather daddy friends.
What? What's happening?
Yeah, just not
Trump
not
fired.
feeling it.
Here it is. Trump fired the president of the Kennedy Center, Deborah Rutter, replacing her with ally Richard Grinnell, who will be in charge of restoring this once great institution to an arts palace for people once again.
Wow, it is Rich Grinnell. He's not an ally to the gays, I guess.
That's what I said earlier, and everybody doubted me.
I believe he follows me on Twitter, Alice.
Wow, you must be really famous.
You want to see the Gay Men's Chorus in the
Can
Kennedy
he
Center?
get us in?
Okay, let's go take a look here. Let's go back to Dr. Cheswick, because I believe I was attacked. Speaking of gay men, I believe I was attacked with suggestions.
The chat, by the way, wanted to know if you would turn them down if the Gay Men's Chorus wanted you.
To sing?
Yeah, somebody said that.
Would I get paid?
I don't know.
I have no problem with the Gay Men's Chorus, I don't think. There used to be one near us in Beacon Hill.
Large, too. It's ridiculous. Excuse me. Yeah, I think the gayness is starting to dissipate, Tom. Sorry about you and your leather daddy friends. Yeah, just not feeling it anymore. Oh, did you know that Larry Bird used to tell the rookies during rookie camp that he was going to take them out to a club. And he said, oh, yeah, we're going to meet at this club called the Ramrod.
Ah!
It's across the street from your hotel. And, of course, all the rookies would go over, and they had no clue what it was.
Oh, that's great.
Until they sort of figured it out on their own. It's pretty funny.
That's
when
great.
basketball players wore short shorts, too.
That's right. The Ramrod, well, I don't think they went out in civilian clothing, but I think, but the Ramrod was on Upper Boylston. It might not still be there. I'm not even sure. One of the few clubs I've not been to. I never made it to the Ramrod. Ever.
Wow.
I think,
Paul didn't take you there?
No, I never went anywhere with Paul. I saw him at Sporters, but I never went anywhere with Paul. Unfortunately, we shared too many rooms, bar rooms, together. But yeah, remember,
Not like hotel room.
so if they were staying across from the Ramrod, that was the old Howard Johnson's, right? On Upper Boylston? That's interesting.
And Alice, I'm with you with the Lindy Lee thing. I sent you that Sean Ryan
Yeah.
podcast. And I did feel like she lost a lot of steam at the end. She started to lose it. And I'm more of, it's not so much that she's switching camps, because you can read through that. I was more interested in someone from that camp actually saying the words that they refused to say about Biden's mental acuity, about who was actually in charge and making the decisions, even though we all knew that he wasn't. But it was good to hear somebody from over there actually say the names.
Yeah. It is good. I will say, if Kamala had somehow won that election, Lindy Lee would not be out there.
No,
saying
yeah,
that.
and you do have to take somebody who immediately goes into the turncoat business full time. You have to take a grain of salt. Like, I liked Scaramucci, but he immediately went into the turncoat business and became that guy. I mean, I know that there's utility in it. Sean, Alice and I were talking about before the show, is like we have a deep but not wide listenership. So, like 3,000 people. Somebody was asking how many Patreon people do we have. Do you even know? Phil might have asked, actually.
How many Patreon people?
Not even sure. But, so, like, you said, so how many listeners do we have? It used to be 60,000 a month, but those were some bumps we got around the time of Kirk, of KMS. So now it's like, it's settled down to like between 20 and 30.
We have about 50 people who pay for Patreon.
50 people who pay for Patreon. And then there's how many total monthly downloads would you say?
Total monthly?
Just
like 15,000?
Okay, and that has been much higher. Like,
yeah, I mean, like it's hard to say because prior to the like divorce episode stuff,
right? The pure chaos and all that stuff was amplified by Barstool.
But we switched platforms right before that happened.
Right.
And the other platform wasn't like IAB certified downloads or anything. It was all like bots and spam and stuff. So that was much higher, but it also wasn't like accurate.
Right.
So this is really accurate, but it's like remarkably steady.
Yes.
Ever since that's the like divorce stuff went away, it's been like a straight line. Like it never goes up.
Yeah, which is great because it's far more than I ever thought when I first started.
No, we have a great audience, and I love our audience.
It's a big audience, and but we were talking about like was he talking about the Sean Riley podcast? Like there are these people who have suddenly become podcast stars. And Alice and I before the show were saying it's like it's interesting. We're steady, and for long this whole time, and like I kind of feel like that. Let's say we started to have 10 million listeners to the podcast. Obviously, that would be fruitful, but we would lose something. Like we would lose this family we have now. Not that we would lose part of it. You can't help. I mean, because there'd be too much.
You know what? Let's stay small.
No, I understand, but we were saying. Where do you think these people come from who suddenly are huge?
But it's like also more than that because like if I look at, I don't want to bore people with podcast
no, I know,
stats because it's boring. But if you like look at the number of unique listeners, it's not like the same 500 people who listen to every episode. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like we have like monthly like 4,000 or 5,000 unique people listen each month. So if all those people listen to every episode, obviously it would be a lot more. But that's why I encourage you to be like forthcoming with like the titles and the description so people know what the episode is.
Right. And we don't have a promotion department, or really, we don't have a marketing department. We have us.
Because there's obviously a lot of people who listen to a couple episodes who like, but don't listen to everything.
But I'm saying is like, how do you think these overnight successes get to be overnight? Like Patrick Bet-David, nobody knew who he was 2 years ago.
Yeah, but he has a bleep load of money.
Right. So you think that he hires a marketing firm and that's how they do it?
Yeah, he also runs like he's done a bunch of stuff in like multi-level marketing, and he runs his company as like sort of. I've heard a lot of stuff about how he runs his company, that it's like almost cult-like that when he comes in the building, all the employees are like, "Oh my God, he's here!"
Well,
like,
that's fine, but how does his podcast get big?
Well, it's a whole corporation.
Okay.
It's Valuetainment Media. They run a whole company. They have like employees in marketing departments and stuff.
So just
like they have like professional camera people in a studio.
And you said Mr. Beast said to get a marketing person.
I said what Mr. Beast said is like something that he's big into is like always hire, not just marketing, but like anytime there's anything, like hire a consultant who has already done this before. Like never.
I can imagine the freaking
like
former radio hack consultants who are out there.
No, but he makes like sets and game shows and like, so he's like, why would I sit here figuring out how to make a game show set like when I can just go find somebody who does that and pay them to do it, right? And that's his like attitude about everything. Like, why would I learn how to do this myself and like go through the grief of like making all the
especially
mistakes?
now since he's got money. I don't know how he got his money, but anyway, it's certainly a different animal. But I'm interested. There's a certain level of podcaster who become overnight sensations, and I wonder if it is a cash investment, multi-tiered, like the what's that? Is it the Ask Me Anything podcast? Is that what that's called? The one where they usually have young slutty
The Whatever podcast.
The Whatever podcast. That was nowhere 3 years ago, and then it became everywhere instantly. And obviously, there's money behind it because it's good content, and they find these characters, so people are out there. There's, but it became everywhere. And unless you go viral, like everywhere costs money.
But you have to go viral many, many times over to build up a regular audience.
You do?
I think so. Like your Scott Brown thing went viral.
Right. Maybe we should get
like,
into
but you have to, but the Whatever stuff, that is always, you always see clips of that in your feed.
Right.
Always.
Yes.
Like you have to have a bunch before people notice it. You didn't the first time you saw a video from the Whatever podcast out there go, oh my God, I have to start listening to this podcast every day.
Right.
It takes a
they
lot
also
of
could
exposure.
be paying X, as a matter of fact, right?
Well, I don't know if they pay. I mean, in the sense that, like, they're verified.
Right,
on
because
X,
as far as I can see, they were nowhere. Then they were everywhere, and now they're kind of nowhere again. I'm sure that.
I mean, they're there. They have a study,
but they're not everywhere. I mean, that's I don't know.
I still see their videos.
I'll take this discussion
there was just
offline,
a big
but I
one
think
with
it's interesting.
Ayala that was out there.
Right. All right, you good?
I'm good.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I just think it's interesting because you wonder, but then again, if you listen to like of our friends or like adjacent people, a bunch of the Minifan podcasts, like there are a bunch of people who with podcasts who've been doing it for a few years who can't imagine how to get where we are.
Yeah,
because
it's hard to get this far.
We're a big, tiny podcast. So, but I mean, we've just been.
Splash says we need to start a podcast war.
Yeah,
he'll go on attack if we want.
Yeah, I don't know who we attack. Well, that's another thing. We could ask that question too. There's another thing. Like, do we book more notable guests? Do people want that?
Splash said he'd come on as a guest too.
Well, I know, but even more notable. I mean,
even more notable than Splash.
Like Matt Walsh from Rees and Noah Rothman. These people who we like. Do we try to get more of those people? If you and I had Jonah Goldberg on, I think we would have a hell of a good discussion. But then again, that podcast then is an interview podcast, And
we had a big spike when we had Michael Yon on about Afghanistan. That was a big one
I mean,
for us.
people, that brings in a whole army of people. When people are, he's very sticky. People are like Michael Yon. We could also have Alex Jones on, Alice. And that
would bring in a lot of people.
It would, absolutely. My days in Kinetic Radio would be over. But
Thank you so much for listening and for all your wonderful feedback about what we should do to grow. I mean, I'm fine with it. I like you guys in the chat. I like talking to you every day. I like talking to Tom every day, even, I would say. So I'm fine with it how it is.
Maybe that's the secret sauce, Alice, is that this discussion that we have on this podcast is what we talk about really all day. I mean, we talk about family stuff and work stuff and whatever. But, like, this is how we got to be a couple, from talking about politics, culture, etc. You know, being two people unqualified and hypocritical and no leg to stand on in many of these.
But I was thinking about that because I was thinking, like, okay, geez, we're going to like get so off track here. We're already an hour and 15 minutes into this podcast. But I think this is important to say because I do think that part of it, and I guess this sort of sounds like sour grapes, but I truly don't care that much how big the podcast is. But I think that there's like a certain astroturfing that can occur. And this was part of like the Ashley St. Clair discussion, right? Like, because she's selling herself as like, you know, conservative girl, right? And there's sort of this cottage industry of, you know, conservative trad girls.
Yes.
Who are also hot, but also like don't actually walk the walk of like staying home and being a stay-at-home mom. There was also recently a trad wife influencer who supposedly had 14 kids, Patriarchy Hannah on Twitter, who recently was outed as not being that person at all. She made up her entire life. She's somebody named Jennifer who used to do porn. So, I mean, like, but this has been a conversation because people cultivate these personas, and we specifically, like, do not cultivate a persona.
Right.
We just show up and talk about stuff.
Right. The
and like, so
persona that at least I present is not one that people aspire to.
We're exactly not lifestyle influencers, which is what many, many, many of these people are.
Right. If we influence, it's not because people want to emulate.
Right? It's, but like people like that, I mean, like Ashley St. Clair is somebody who was making a huge amount of money as a conservative influencer on Twitter. She was posting like big Twitter payouts, all this stuff. This isn't, but it's an industry. People do it as a profession and they do it like, and it's not real. Do you get what I'm saying? Like we show up and we do like the most professional, unprofessional podcast that's out there. What are you doing?
No, I totally agree.
What are you doing? You're on the phone now?
Yeah, I'm on the phone.
Who are you calling?
I'm talking to my friend.
Who are you talking to?
Let's go. Yeah, no, and there is this total fraudulent thing. I mean, we would be.
But even like we've talked about this, that, you know, like the, what's it called? Ruthless. Is like very much, I mean, it's the answer to Pod Save. It's the Inside Baseball Washington Insider podcast that all the politicians go on. They're never going to like really criticize the establishment. They're like doing their thing, but it's not like.
I could never enjoy doing something like that. I've heard a couple of those guys I think are independently funny. Maybe one is. But the whole approach, you know us, we say program. They seem like young Republican DBs who don't tip well. Maybe they're not. Maybe the greatest guys.
I mean, there are people who get big because they do a lot of legwork. I'd put like commentary in that category. I'd put Megyn Kelly in that category where they just work incredibly hard and put out like a really thoughtful podcast, which we also don't do. So
that's not true.
I mean,
that's not true.
Not the way like Megyn Kelly does.
Well, right. She's
or
got
commentary
a team with her.
does.
She's got a team
no,
with her.
I know. That's
no, but I would put it with I would say that we do the same way commentary does, except they have a powwow in the morning to talk about it. But they have a thread. We send each other a thread. The thing is that we also have other full-time jobs and kids and the thing.
Right, that's true.
But I would say that our formula is very much like commentary. We're not super intellectuals with granular data knowledge on many subjects like they are. I mean, maybe you are. I'm not an A student.
I'm not. Not the way the commentary people are. Because I'm not like
we don't put on a show. We put on a
politics.
podcast. We don't have. This is not a presentation. I mean, we have supposedly string lights here, but there's no. It's not a show. There's not a green screen with a fake set. There's not. The video came second. This is a discussion-based podcast, which really takes place throughout the day for us because we're talking about this stuff throughout the day. And then finding things on social media throughout the day, and in coming up with this stuff. But no, I will not. I definitely think that it's Sally. We don't drink cold beers during the podcast. This is inappropriate. This is I don't even know where you.
The podcast is almost over.
This is not from your own stash, is it? Thank you.
I've been disturbed.
Thank you. All right. Want me to continue with the outro music?
I think we've exhausted all the topics. That's it. We'll start beef with Ruthless. Trish says she just started listening to Ruthless, so that'll be our next podcast war.
Program. Losers. Thugs. That's thug and punks. Thunks. Program. Ugh. Beltway. Greaseballs.